please hit that subscribe button.
Hey everybody.
Better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, the Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Watch out, and he scored! And we're live.
Hey everybody. So the 2020 NHL season has finally come to an end, and the Tampa Bay Lightning are your Stanley Cup champions. I just wanted to say congratulations to Tampa Bay and give the team and their fans a massive, massive congratulations. It's hard to even really know where to start with this team, but what an incredible postseason run that they had. There's so much to talk about with this group. I guess the biggest thing is to go back and you have to start looking at last year. And you look at what happened in the playoffs last season when, they were the best team in the league by far, one of the greatest teams of all time in the regular season. They come out, they get swept in the first round by basically an 8th seed Columbus team, and they were the laughingstock of the NHL. The Tampa Bay Lightning last year in the playoffs were the laughingstock of the NHL. And I shredded them, everyone shredded them. They were the ultimate chokers in the league at that point. And they came into this year and it was redemption time. It was a redemption tour from the start for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think you look at that lineup, you look at that team, they're incredibly talented. They added a lot of grit. They added a lot of toughness. And just that hard-working, gritty style of player, and I think that really set them up to be more successful in the playoffs than just being the speed and skill team that they were the year before. And it proves once again how important toughness still is in the NHL, and everyone likes to talk about, speed, skill, scoring, high offense, all that. Tampa's got all that. I mean, Tampa's got all that, but what did they need to win the Stanley Cup? They needed Pat Maroon. They needed Blake Coleman. They needed Barclay Goodrow. They needed, Zach Bogosian. They needed guys like that on the back end. I mean, they need Luke Schenn. Moves like that is what made Tampa Bay go from being an extremely talented, explosive offensive team and making them a Stanley Cup winning team. And they had that grit factor. They had that sandpaper that they needed to win in the NHL in the postseason and to win a Stanley Cup. Toronto Maple Leafs, take note. It's been an incredible year for the Lightning. They weren't as good in the regular season. They were still great. They were still great in the regular season this year. They weren't as good as they were the year before, but that's not what matters. The regular season, literally not what matters for Tampa Bay. They would just get into the playoffs, and then the real season starts. And in the postseason this year, Tampa was incredible. They exercised their demons right out of the gate. They matched up with Columbus in the first round again, and I think that honestly is probably the best thing that could have happened to them, because they had to face the team that beat them last year, the team that completely embarrassed them and upset them last year, and they won that series in 5 games right out of the gate. And I think that mentally, that was the biggest roadblock for the Lightning mentally, was do they get by Columbus, or does Columbus upset them again? And they beat Columbus in 5 games. They had a great series. They played defensive hockey in that series. And they won a low-scoring series that wasn't all about the offense. And I think from that point on, things kind of clicked upstairs for Tampa Bay. And they go, okay, hold on. This isn't 2019. This is 2020, and we can do this. And from that point on, they blew through the Boston Bruins. Absolutely destroyed Boston. That series was never really close. Obviously, Boston took game 1, but once Tampa won game 2, it was all Lightning from then on out. And then they got a very difficult conference final matchup against the New York Islanders, who kind of in a lot of ways were similar to Columbus last year, where they were kind of that underdog team that not a lot of people expected to get that far. They were playing really good hockey, and they found a way to, make it to the conference finals, and they were really riding some momentum there. And then, it was a long series. It went 6 games. It was a tough series, but Tampa Bay, again, found a way to win. they found a way to win that series, and that pushed them on to the Cup Finals against Dallas, who, once again, underdog team. Not a lot of people expected them to be there. They were, kind of just riding a hot streak and riding momentum. Dallas played absolutely outstanding in the playoffs. I mean, I got to give some huge credit to the Dallas Stars. Fans of the Dallas Stars have nothing to be ashamed of. What an incredible postseason for them as well. Yes, they just came up a little bit short at the end, but what an incredible playoffs for the Dallas Stars. Fans of that team should be very, very proud of what that team was able to accomplish and how far that team made it. Tampa, again, 6 games, finds a way to win. They won some big games in that series, and at the end, we're able to close it out with a shutout. And Vasilevsky was incredible all postseason long. Andrei Vasilevsky not getting talked about enough. Obviously, Victor Hedman won the Conn Smythe. He was absolutely incredible in the postseason. A ton of goals, great shutdown defensive play as well. Played a ton of minutes. Victor Hedman was outstanding. Braden Point, absolutely unbelievable. One of the best postseasons from a single player I've seen in a long, long time from Braden Point. Just the impact that he had on the game, the scoring, the assists, the points in total, the great play at both ends of the ice, the playing through injury. Braden Point was outstanding, and Nikita Kucherov, you can't forget about him. I believe second or third all time in most assists in a single postseason. So Kucherov was just setting guys up all playoffs long. Great point production from him. Kucherov outstanding. The third line for the Lightning, the third line of Blake Coleman, Yanni Gordon, Barclay Goodrow. That line was absolutely outstanding in the postseason for Tampa Bay. They contributed offensively. They were extremely physical. They got under the opponent's skin. They were just gritty, hard-working, just real that ground and pound style of hockey for that line for Tampa Bay. And that line, I think, is what took the Tampa Bay Lightning from being a great team with a ton of talent to being a Stanley Cup winning team. I think it was that third line right there that style of play that they needed to figure out how to play. That line brought it. And Coleman and Goodrow were both trade deadline acquisitions. Talk about winning at the trade deadline if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning. Those two moves that were highly scrutinized when they were made turned out to be outstanding moves for Tampa Bay. So that line was incredible. Ryan McDonagh, cannot say enough great things about Ryan McDonagh. He's kind of in the shadow of Victor Hedman at this point. He's not with New York. Ryan McDonagh was the number one guy. He was the top dog on that defense core in New York. In Tampa Bay, he's not. Victor Hedman is. McDonagh is that number 2, number 3 guy now with he's really the number 2, but he plays on a different pair than Hedman. They don't play their top 2 together, which again I think is smart. But he's become he's not talked about as much. He's not as big of a spotlight on him as there was in New York. Ryan McDonagh is one of the best shutdown defensemen in the entire NHL, and still is. He is still one of the best defensive defensemen in the NHL. Offensively, he can contribute as well. He doesn't really put up big points. He's not a huge offensive defenseman, but he is one of the best shutdown D-men in the NHL, and he was absolutely outstanding in the playoffs this year. So huge props to Ryan McDonagh, and it's great to see him finally win a cup. But getting back to Andrei Vasilevsky, I've gone through literally everyone else, and that seems to be the theme of the playoffs this year is everyone else gets talked about except for Andrei Vasilevsky. Vasi played every single goaltending second of this postseason. Curtis McElhinney did not touch the ice. In a postseason where a lot of teams use 2 goaltenders, and sometimes more, if injuries were involved, Andrei Vasilevsky, Curtis McElhinney did not touch the ice. Andrei Vasilevsky played every goaltending second for the Tampa Bay Lightning in the playoffs this year. Unbelievable. It was either Vasi in net or an empty net. That was the only 2 Only 2 situations this year for Tampa Bay, and what a remarkable performance. And he didn't have any shutouts until the last game, and finally in the cup clinching game, he finally gets a shutout. But his numbers were outstanding. He won, obviously, all the games that he needed to. Great save percentage, great goals against average, incredibly good, timely saves throughout these playoffs where they really needed a save. Vasi was there for you. And he was a huge reason why this team won, and he was largely, I think, kind of overlooked in these playoffs because Point was so good, because Hedman was so good, because Kucherov was so good. There weren't as many people talking about the goaltender. Andrei Vasilevsky was A+ throughout the playoffs this year for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So to wrap this up here, again, huge congratulations to Tampa Bay. What an incredible postseason for them. What an incredible year for them. The redemption tour fully completed now with a Stanley Cup win. And they certainly have made up for what happened last year against Columbus. They have certainly made up for that. So huge props again to the Lightning. Congratulations to them and all of their fans. What an incredible season. And they are your 2020 Stanley Cup champions. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store and donation links are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.